This is Nicholas Glover with the Tampa Bay Chamber. I want to thank and welcome our viewers tuning in to our 2023 candidate interview series for the City of Tampa City Council elections. The Chamber focuses on policy, not politics, and while we do not endorse, we do want to make sure that our members and the business community are informed on where these candidates stand on the issues that are most important to them. We are excited today to have Councilwoman Lynn Hurtak running for City Council District 3 Citywide. Thank you for joining us, Councilwoman.
Oh, thank you for having me. I absolutely appreciate this opportunity. I haven't had a chance to meet all the different groups since I was appointed 8 months ago. It's been a wild ride so far, and I'm enjoying the election process.
Speaking of timing, we are just under 60 days from Election Day. And now that we're in this home stretch, can you give us a brief update on where your campaign is and what message you hope to deliver voters?
Sure. My campaign is going great. I have tons of door knockers. I have, I just received the endorsement for the West Central Florida Labor Council, which meant a lot to me. We are getting out there every day. We're doing meet and greets. We have the fundraising is going well. So this is my very first election, and it has been quite an adventure, but I'm having a great time, mainly because I really get to get out and talk to the voters.
As you mentioned, it's been about 8 months since you've been on council, and just kind of jumping around a little bit, what is the role of city council as you see it? And ultimately, how do you see that role potentially evolving over the course of the term?
I don't think there's really any evolution to happen. It's pretty solid in the charter what our job is. Our job is to make laws and set a budget. We approve every amount of money that comes in front of us. We do it every 2 weeks. We're in charge of land use regulation. We do laws. What we aren't is simply a rubber stamp for the mayor's office. We're supposed to be working together collaboratively. And I think, I do that with staff all the time. I'm constantly in contact and working with staff on different projects. I think that's incredibly important. City council, we are the ones that are closest to the people. There are 7 of us. It's much simpler for a constituent to pick up a phone and talk to one of the 7 of us than it is to get to the mayor, just because she's one person and her job is the administration and dealing with every employee, every department. We are the legislative body. But we're also the ones that are on the ground talking to the people more often, just because we have the opportunity to do so.
You alluded to this a moment ago about the budget. Obviously, approving the city's budget is one of the greatest responsibilities of council. Some of the state budget experts, even though we're doing better on things like inflation, are still anticipating potentially a slowdown. How would and how should the city prioritize spending during that time period?
Obviously, our most important asset is our people. We have been growing at such a rapid rate that there's no way that we're going to be able to cut staff. In fact, we really need to add staff. So what I would prioritize making sure the staff stays so that they can actually do the work that people are asking them to do. The other priorities, and we've talked about this quite a bit on council recently, safety. Right now we have so many people moving here, but we have not increased. We are in desperate need of more fire stations, rescue cars, personnel, police officers. We're not adding enough to satisfy the number of people who are moving here. And one of the things that I've brought back that council talked about a couple of years ago was a public safety impact fee for development. It wouldn't be a ton of money, and what it would do is enable us to build those structures and get those rescue cars and things that we really need. And so that's a huge priority. Obviously, affordable housing and just housing in general, we absolutely have to continue to prioritize that. But because of the loss of offer transportation, we are also going to have to look at transportation. The biggest call my office gets is potholes in streets. So because AFT didn't pass, we are really going to have to look at that again and see what we can do for the roads that the city owns.
Thank you. I promise we'll come back to that transportation idea. Let's talk about housing. You mentioned growth and some of the needs of the city. What zoning or policy changes would you want to see happen to address our workforce housing needs in Tampa?
Well, actually, one of the great things that we're doing, we were chosen as a Bloomberg city, I believe last year, and which allows, we have the Bloomberg experts coming to work with us on projects, and they're doing this for free, which again, I alluded to the deficit in staffing for the city. And these are people that are able to focus on bigger issues. And one of the things that we desperately need is a redo of the land development codes. And so that is underway right now. The idea that we're going to do that, it's going to be a 3-year process. We're going to have to hire outside consultants to do that work. But I anticipate that everyone's going to be able to be a part of that project. So that is a huge one, because right now our land development codes are so old that a lot of stuff is going to council or going to administrative that really shouldn't. These things should be settled with development code. But when it comes to affordable housing, one of the other things we do is we have these density bonuses when we're looking at large multifamily structures. Density bonuses, right now, a developer can put money into, it can choose many different things for density. For bonuses, they can fund a capital improvement project. They can underground utilities. They can improve the streetscape around their project, or they can put money, or they can designate 5 to 10% of their development for affordable housing. One of the things that we would like to do, and we're working as a city on, is taking those options away and making only one option, which is affordable housing. Another thing that we're doing is looking at accessory dwelling units, also known as ADUs and mother-in-laws. That's a huge deal. We have that in the neighborhood I live in Seminole Heights already, and those are pretty common, and they allow for more housing options. We're looking at expanding those to the Central Planning District, which is the middle district of the city. And we're hoping to do that to give residents and homeowners a chance to add more ability for, them to stay in their houses, to provide more housing. We're also looking at the missing middle, duplexes, triplexes, quads, doing the very same thing. There are a lot of residents who are reticent or a little nervous about that, which is why I'm saying we're starting it in areas that maybe they want it already, because I really feel once people see it and see how it's not drastically changing the fabric of a neighborhood, but just adding more people to the neighborhood. In Seminole Heights, no one blinks an eye now at an accessory dwelling unit being added, and almost every new construction house that has the room is doing it. Construction costs are so expensive. It enables folks to either have a family member living back there or rent it out. And it's just another set of eyes on the neighborhood. It's another person to say hello to in the morning. It really is a benefit to our community, and we need to do everything possible to make sure we are adding density in a safe and healthy way to grow the city.
Excellent. I want to switch gears for a moment and talk about home rule. Local governments across the state have been critical of the legislature in recent years. Do you agree that preemption has become a problem in Tallahassee? And if so, how would you go about working with our legislative delegation with the goal of having a more productive relationship?
Oh, home rule, absolutely. We've been fighting this for years and years and years. The Constitution of the state of Florida allows us to govern our own city the way we see fit, but they're just clawing back and pulling back different things. As an example, I've only been on city council for 8 months, but right after Roe was overturned, I tried to pass both an abortion rights resolution and an ordinance. And it wasn't to guarantee abortion, because that's what the state covers, but it was to say that, we wouldn't use funds to prosecute or go after. We wouldn't use police funds to do that. And I got support from only one fellow council member, because the others were worried about home rule issues. And this was right after State Attorney Andrew Warren was taken out of office. And so people are afraid that that the governor is going to come for their seats as well. And that's unfortunate because I think we can work together. I do meet with several members of the delegation to the state, and I'm developing more and more relationships because that's how we're going to get things done in Tallahassee. And it's not a partisan issue at the city level. We have to work with those who are representing us.
On the topic of economic development, utilization of public-private partnerships continues to be an asset for local governments across the country. Councilwoman, what opportunities for P3s do you see in the city of Tampa?
Well, right now we are already doing public-private partnerships with affordable housing. We own the land for the Rome Street project, and we entered into a public-private partnership with the related group to build some housing on there that will have a large affordable housing component. We're continuing to look at projects like that because we're going to be one of the things we're working on for housing also is developing a community land trust. And so for those larger parcels of land that the city is going to put into this land trust, public-private partnerships will absolutely go far to making sure that the city isn't itself building housing and becoming a landlord, but working with developers and folks to do that. We're actually also looking through our community redevelopment agency, our 8 CRA areas, to do those types of projects for smaller businesses. What I love that the CRAs are doing is we have a new pre-development program for folks who own land. This is an East Tampa program, but I'd like to see it after this pilot is done, see if we can expand it to others. But it allows them to get money for pre-development. They own this piece of land, but they don't know what to do with it. They're not a developer, they're just a landowner. And so it gives them the opportunity to figure out what they want to do. So holding on and creating generational wealth among people who already live here. We can also, the other public-private partnership examples, we absolutely need to look at transportation and different things we can do in that arena. Because with all for transportation overturned, we have an absolute dire need for transportation in this community.
Let's stick with that topic. So obviously, Councilwoman, uncertainty persists with the already collected AFT referendum dollars. As I know that the fate of those dollars is now in the hands of the Florida legislature. Assuming that your colleagues in the county government are able to secure those funds this legislative session, what are the most important transportation investments that you'd like to see?
The most important transportation investments I would like to see is money toward HART to improve the bus routes we have. The other thing I would like to do is we're definitely talking about expansion of the streetcar, but probably the most important in terms of transportation is the bus rapid transit path from downtown to USF. FDOT is helping with some of that, but we need some local funds, matching funds. I would like to see a lot go toward that. Additionally, we are in desperate need of sidewalks. The community is very vocal on sidewalks. So I would like some of that money to go to sidewalks. And then again, also repairing the streets that the city owns.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Well, we've touched on some really important policy topics today. But before we wrap up, is there a priority, Councilwoman, that we did not get to that you'd like to discuss, or either something you want to circle back on to reemphasize?
Honestly, the other thing that I'm absolutely focused on is sustainability. One of those things is looking at what's formerly known as the PURE project or toilet to tap. That's the biggest concern that constituents are coming up and asking me about. They don't want to put wastewater in the aquifer. We just don't know what it's going to do. So one of the things we're doing is looking at Senate Bill 64 requires us to do something with that stormwater, with that wastewater. So we just approved a pilot project with grant funding from the state. So we aren't putting any money toward this to look at to use a program called 6 that would take out more PFAS, PFOA, extra nutrients, nitrogen, especially because those are the things that that are troublesome that we're releasing into the bay. I sit on the Tampa Bay Estuary Board, and we just found out that the seagrasses are dying again. And one of the things we can do to help that is to take more nutrients, especially nitrogen, out of water that makes its way into the bay. So that's a big, important deal for me. And I think sustainability in talking about water and garbage and all of these issues is really all about conservation, which I don't feel that we have done enough of educating the public on how to conserve water and how to throw away less trash, and focusing on recycling and composting and all of those things. I think a really robust education program that makes people feel a part of the solution is really where we need to go next.
Thank you. And finally, where can voters go to learn more about you, Councilwoman, your campaign, and the positions that are the most important to them?
I have a website, lynnhurtak.com, that you're welcome to check out. I'm also on Twitter and Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, all at Lynn Hurtak, Hurtak.
Councilwoman Lynn Hurtak, running for City Council District 3 Citywide. On behalf of our members and our board of directors, we want to thank you for joining us today and for your willingness to serve in an elected office. That concludes our interview.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me, and I look forward to any questions any of your members or others watching might have. Please feel free to contact me at lynnhurtak.com.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you.